WWE Raw will air from Miami, Florida, this week. It doesn't take a genius to see that the show needs a fair share of surprises because the current product is stale and quite unexciting. Last week's episode was not very appealing, and in fact, one could go so far as to say that it was rather disappointing. WWE Raw has the chance to remedy things this week with a bunch of surprises that entice the audience. How do they draw the audience in and grip them for the long haul? Here are some surprises. As always, you are welcome to disagree and share your own thoughts about WWE Raw in the comments. Do not forget that this is a follow-up show to AEW All Out in Chicago, so WWE Raw will need to come out all guns blazing. Number 5. WWE Raw star Sheamus turns face and steps up to Bobby Lashley. Lashley vs. Sheamus was a match that was advertised for last week's edition of WWE Raw, but it did not happen. One has to assume that the reason for that is it's going to be pushed to the upcoming pay-per-view. This gives Sheamus enough time to become a babyface over the weeks that follow. Sheamus has been putting on incredible performances as of late and could continue doing so as a babyface. He can still retain his brawler character, and this time, the audience on WWE Raw can chant along to the 10 beats of the Bodhrán. Imagine what a slugfest a championship match against Bobby Lashley would be like. The almighty steamrolls through Sheamus, but elevates him in the process. This could be a filler feud until Goldberg is ready to return for the grudge match against Lashley. Number 4. Shayna Baszler turns face and steps up to Charlotte Flair. The WWE Raw version of Shayna Baszler is but a pale imitation as compared to what she was in NXT. Now that things aren't rosy between her and Nia Jax, it may be time for the old version to emerge again. Let's assume that Charlotte Flair is able to defeat Nia Jax in the match that's been advertised for WWE Raw. Could her celebrations be cut short by Shayna Baszler stepping up to the plate and getting a huge babyface pop? Number 3. A new WWE Raw tag team is formed. Miz and Morrison are no longer a thing, and it's clear that these two men will clash very soon indeed. That said, what better way to elevate someone new than through their feud? Angel Garza is far too talented a superstar to not be a part of WWE Raw every single week. Could Miz form some kind of coalition with him this week? These two men could potentially even be prospective opponents for RK Bro at some point in the future. Number 2. The WWE Raw Women's Championship match gets a supernatural twist. Last week's episode of WWE Raw saw the clash between Charlotte Flair and Nia Jax become a little too real. This week, the two women will settle their differences in a WWE Raw Women's Championship match. However, do not forget that there is yet another woman who is Charlotte Flair in her crosshairs. Alexa Bliss could interfere during the match by attacking both women, resulting in a no contest. Since she has ample history with the two WWE Raw superstars, a triple threat situation could happen at Extreme Rules. Don't forget that the pay-per-view happens at Columbus, Ohio, Bliss' hometown. Number 1. Logan Paul becomes the 24/7 champion. Vince McMahon and Nick Khan are always looking for crossover celebrities to represent their company on a global stage, such as Bad Bunny or Logan Paul. Putting the 24/7 championship on Logan Paul, much like they did with Bad Bunny, would be a step in this direction. Could we see a title change on WWE Raw, with Paul winning this title off Reginald? Becky Lynch took to Twitter to reveal how a match with her promotes her opponents to the highest level. The man shocked the WWE Universe when she returned at SummerSlam, sending the 50,000 strong at the Allegiant Stadium in a state of disbelief. She made quick work of Carmella, and then returned to the ring to challenge Bianca Belair to a match for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Becky then pinned the EST in 27 seconds to win the title, ending Belair's title reign. In a recent tweet, the SmackDown Women's Champion seemed to indicate that she pushed her opponents to the top tier when they competed against her inside the squared circle. Big time Bex plus anyone equals big fight feel. You're welcome. The tweet came shortly after WWE announced that Becky Lynch would defend her SmackDown Women's Championship against Bianca Belair at Extreme Rules. After Becky upstaged the EST of WWE in an impromptu matchup at SummerSlam, the SmackDown Women's Champion has repeatedly refused Belair a rematch for the title. Becky even declared that she does not regret her actions at SummerSlam despite Belair calling her out on the underhanded tactics that led to Becky winning the championship. Last week, Bianca Belair fought her way to the title picture after winning a hard-fought fatal 4-way elimination match against Liv Morgan, Carmella, and Zelina Vega. She also challenged the SmackDown Women's Champion to a title rematch this week on SmackDown, but the man rejected it again. However, things changed when WWE officials Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville took note and made the match official for Extreme Rules later this month. Do you agree with Becky Lynch? Do her matches have a big fight feel to them? Sound off in the comments below. WWE NXT Champion Samoa Joe is keen on having a singles match with Randy Orton and run it back with Brock Lesnar in the future. Joe opined that Orton is a tremendous performer while also stating that it's great to step in the ring with Lesnar. In an interview with Metro, Joe discussed about potential opponents for him in WWE. The two-time US champion wants to face Randy Orton one-on-one and Brock Lesnar once again. He also believes that there are plenty of stars in NXT that he wants to face as well. That's really what excites me at this point. There's a lot of matches out there in the ether that maybe I could get to do. I'd still love to go round with Randy Orton once, just cause I think he's tremendous as a performer in what he's able to do. I'd love to go with Brock again, that's always great. When I look at this crop, this murderer's row of NXT stars in front of me, it's hard not to want them too. It's a target-rich environment, and I'm very happy to be in there, said Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe, who returned to the ring for the first time since February 2020 at last month's NXT TakeOver, won the NXT Championship for the third time in his career. Samoa Joe hasn't had a singles feud with Randy Orton in WWE, which is a surprise as the two are exceptional performers who can bring the best out of each other. Joe and Orton have shared the ring on only a few occasions. Joe and Brock Lesnar, though, had one feud in WWE back in 2017 when the Beast Incarnate was the Universal Champion. They first faced each other at the Great Balls of Fire pay-per-view in 2017 and later that year at SummerSlam, where Joe, Lesnar, Roman Reigns, and Braun Strowman were in a fatal four-way match. Sasha Banks was present backstage on the latest episode of WWE SmackDown, but did not make an appearance on the show, as per a report by Fightful Select. The Boss was set to challenge Bianca Belair for the SmackDown Women's Championship but was pulled from the card at the last minute. She hasn't wrestled since the WWE Super Show on August 7th. As of this writing, there is no clarity on why she was pulled from the biggest party of the summer. It was reported earlier that Sasha Banks will be returning to next week's SmackDown at Madison Square Garden, but nothing is concrete as of now. As stated earlier, Sasha Banks was set to clash with Bianca Belair in a much-anticipated WrestleMania rematch. Despite reports coming out that she won't be a part of SummerSlam, WWE continued to advertise the match right up until Bianca made her entrance. It was then announced that Banks was pulled from the match due to unforeseen circumstances, and was replaced by Carmella. However, it was a ruse to set up the long-awaited return of Becky Lynch, who attacked Carmella. The man then went on to squash the EST in just 27 seconds to win the SmackDown Women's Championship, with Becky holding the title. It will be interesting to see how the title picture on the SmackDown brand shapes up when the Boss makes her imminent return. With the rumors of a draft coming up, it is quite possible that WWE could hold off her return and make her comeback on the red brand instead. All said and done, it is a good sign that Sasha has made her return, even if it's just backstage, as it suggests a return could be around the corner. What do you think of the whole Sasha Banks situation? Which brand do you think she will make her return to? Who do you want to see her compete against? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below.